Welcome back, students. I'm so happy you tuned in to hear me read Chapter 10, Meeting the Real MaWee in the book Elijah of Buxton. Me and the preacher wandered around the carnival for about another hour. Then we walked back into the Atlas clearing and headed for a tent where most of the carnival workers were sitting. A big, rough-looking white man with bright red hair stood up and put his hand on the preacher's chest and said, "Show's over, boy. We's pulling up stakes tonight and don't need no more workers." The preacher slapped the man's hand off his chest and stood so his jacket was open and that mystery pistol was showing. He said, "I look like a boy to you? I'm not here about work. I'm looking for the owner. And if you put another hand on me, you'll be pulling back a bloody stump." The tall conjurer man with the two sets of eyes jumped up and said, "Hold on a moment, Red. I own this carnival, sir. How may I help you?" The preacher pushed past the red-haired white man and said, "Sir, I just want to start by telling you what a wonderful carnival you have here." The conjurer reached his hand to the preacher and said, "Why, thank you, sir. Whom do I have the honor of addressing?" "I'm the Right Reverend Deacon Dr. Zephariah Connerly III. "A pleasure to meet you, sir." "Reverend Connerly, I am humbled to be in your presence. I am the lowly Charles Mondile Vaughan IV, Knight Commander of the Most Honorable Order of the Bath, knighted a mere 14 years ago." The preacher said, "I'm the one who's humbled, sir. I've been to many such carnivals and have never seen anything that matches this one. You must be very proud." "Indeed, indeed. I've worked years to assemble this family." The preacher said, "Which is why I wanted to speak with you." The conjurer took a long pull on a cigar and blowed the smoke to the side, then said, "And what may I do for you, sir?" "It's more what I can do for you." "I'm intrigued. Do tell." The preacher pulled me from behind him and said, "Sir Charles, allow me to introduce the most amazing child ever to have lived in Buxton. Although he was born and reared in Africa, he has lived with me for these past 4 years. Maybe in your travels, you've heard of the tribe he's from, the Chichotes." Sir Charles said, "Can't say that I have." "There's a good reason you haven't. Sad to say, little Abo here is the last surviving member." "Well, Reverend, that is indeed sad. But what does that have to do with my carnival?" The preacher commenced waving his arms, really warming into this tale he's about to spin. The Chichotes were fierce warriors who hunted and even fished with nothing but stones. Stone throwing was a skill passed from generation to generation, and little Abo's father, who was the king of the Chichotes, passed on the secrets of stone hunting and fishing to his son just before he was tragically murdered. The preacher sounded so heart-busted about this that even I was getting sad for little Abo, and I knowed that he was me, and there weren't probably gonna be a lick of truth in the whole story. The conjurer said, "Pity that. But wait, do I understand you to be saying that this boy can catch a fish underwater by throwing a stone?" The preacher said, "If only we were at a lake so he could show you." The conjurer winked at the big, rough, red-haired white man and said, if he can do that, he must have an unusually keen eye. Could be, mayhap, demonstrate his skill some other way. Of course he can. I watched your Madame Sabar earlier tonight, and while she was most impressive, I didn't see her doing anything little Abo couldn't match. No. Perhaps we could go to her tent and show you. Well, sir, we were actually preparing to break things down, but I think little Abo might provide an interesting but brief diversion. The preacher, Sir Charles, and the other white man started walking toward the slingshot lady's tent, with me trailing behind. The conjurer looked back at me and said loud and slow, do you speak any English? It was kind of hard to look at him with his two sets of eyes, but I said, why, yes, sir, and some Latin, and I can understand a little Greek. Oops. That must have been too much talking. The preacher gave me a hard look, then told the conjurer, plus, of course, he's fluent in Chichote. One of the conjurer's eyebrows raised up and he said, indeed? To my ear, it sounds as if the boy is very Canadian. That's because not only is he the best stone flinger since David, he's also uncommonly bright. He's lived with me for only 4 years, and he's picked up the language and customs of Canada West so quickly, it's truly astounding. All of a sudden, a stranger boy came up alongside of me and gave me some unpleasant looks. His hair was all matted up like a bird's nest, and his clothes were so dirty that not even Cooter would have been caught dead in 'em. He said, who you? I just about said my name, then remembered what Sammy had told me about saying Elijah round here. I knowed the boy weren't from Buxton, and I was pretty sure he weren't from Chatham, but I couldn't be total for certain. I thought it'd be best if I didn't take no chances. He was littler than me, so I said, why you want to know? He said, where y'all going? He sounded American. Over to the slingshot lady's tent. The boy spit, kicked his bare foot at the dirt, and said, I knowed it. I could tell he was sizing me up to see if he could lick me. I puffed my chest up some whilst we walked. The boy said quiet, I's the real MaWee, but you's fixin' to take my place, ain't you? What? That white boy weren't no good. I seen't it. So now Massa Charles looking for you to take my place. He tilted his head toward the conjurer and said, he done told me it was just for whilst we's in Canada. But I knowed he was lying. Lying about what? You trying to be the next MaWee, ain't you? What? But I'ma tell you right now that you ain't gonna like it. You ain't gonna like roaming about with them one bit. They ain't gonna say nothing at first, but you gonna have to clean all them animal cages and fetch for 'em all times of the day or night. And the gator man gonna beat you every chance he get, and you gonna be cleaning all they clothes, and they stingy with what they feed you, and it even ain't no fun after a while getting hit in the face with them grapes neither. I said, I'm not taking no one's place. The preacher's just bragging on me so's that man with all those eyes can see how good I chunk stones. The boy gave me another rough look. I said, you travel round with these people? Course I do. I told you. I'm the real MaWee. Your ma and pa travel with you too? I ain't got no ma nor pa. You a orphan? You best watch what you's calling me. What's a orphan? I said, how old are you? I ain't sure. You ain't had no schooling at all? What I need schooling for? You ask too much questions. Who takes care of you? Massa Charles do. He look after me good. He done paid me more'n $100 for me down in Louisiana. Paid? You're a slave. Nah, I seen how slaves get treated. I ain't no slave. You ain't never tried to escape? What you mean? If Massa cut me a loose, what's I gonna eat? Where's I gonna sleep? But this is Canada. You ain't but 3 miles from Buxton. You ain't never heard of Buxton? Massa Charles say Buxton, why he have to get a white boy to pretend he MaWee. He say y'all up here ain't gonna think it funny to see me get pelt with no grapes. Now he seen that white boy ain't no good, and he gonna try you next. I told him, my mom and pa ain't about to let me travel with no circus. Buxton's my home. The inside of Madame Sabar's tent looked a whole lot smaller without all the people piled up in it. Madame Sabar herself was sitting on the stage smoking a cigar. MaWee pointed at the white cloth atop the jungle board and whispered, can y'all read what that say? I told him, it says the jungles of Sweden. It don't say nothing about MaWee. No, that what I thought. He lie. The preacher said the conjurer stopped talking and Sir Charles told MaWee, go light the candles as if it's a show. Yes, sir. MaWee struck a match and set all the candles on the board burning. Them other ones too, boss. Yes, everything. MaWee grabbed a lighting pole and went round the tent, lighting the candles up high. When he was done, he came back and said, that all, boss? Yes, MaWee, but don't leave. We're getting started in a moment. Yes, sir, boss. Now, Reverend Connerly, perhaps little Abo can demonstrate his skill. And I'm going to stop there for today.